Imagine if everything you thought about what men want was wrong. Imagine that behind the smiles, the dates, and even the long relationships, there is a silent, uncomfortable truth. A truth that almost no one has the courage to say out loud. What if I told you that many men live in silence, wanting something they can't even put into words because they've been taught to deny their own deepest desires? What if what men really want is completely different from the narrative sold by popular culture, romantic movies, or dating magazines? Stay until the end, because there I will reveal the most ignored and most powerful aspect of male desire, something that, if understood, can forever change the way you relate to men. But first, if this type of content awakens you, if you want to dive deep into a critical, truthful, and unfiltered analysis, subscribe now to the channel, Female Red Pill, like it, comment below what you think men really want, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Because today we are going to debunk myths. Today we are going to reveal hidden truths. And you can be sure, they are not what you expect. Let's start with the most basic, but not least, thing. Most people believe that what men want is sex. It's that simple. That's the shallow, immediate answer that has become a cliché. But is that all there is to it? Author Rollo Tomassi, in his book, The Rational Male, Chapter 2, pages 11 to 14, states that male sexual need is indeed intense and biologically based. But he goes further. He shows that men's sexual desire is deeply linked to their need for validation. Not just any validation, but the kind that proves that they are desired by a woman they consider to be of high value. In other words, men don't just want the physical act. They want what this act represents: status, evolutionary superiority, confirmation of masculine value. But why does this matter? Because it reveals that deep down what men really want isn't just sex, it's recognition. And here comes the first expectation breaker. Men don't just want to be desired, they want to be admired. Author Suzanne Venker, in The War on Men, Chapter 5, pages 72 to 75, reveals that one of the greatest desires of men today is to find a space where they can exercise their masculinity without being judged or castrated. She shows that modern men are increasingly suffocated by a culture that accuses them of toxicity simply for acting naturally. The real desire is not for licentiousness, but for freedom, to be who they are without having to conform to ideologies that do not reflect their nature. And here a powerful question arises. If men want to be admired, respected, and recognized, why do so many accept crumbs in cold relationships without emotional reciprocity? The answer is harsh, because many don't even know they have this desire. They have been conditioned to accept little. They have been trained to think that a real man can keep quiet, that expressing what he feels is weakness, that complaining is a woman's thing. But is that really it? Psychologist Dr. Warren Farrell, in his classic The Myth of Male Power, Chapter 3, pages 39 to 42, clearly shows how men have historically been led to believe that their value lies solely in how much they produce, provide, and protect. They have not been taught to connect with their own emotional desires. The result? They want love but don't know how to ask for it. They want respect but accept humiliation. They want intimacy but hide behind jokes, sarcasm, and aloofness. Pause to reflect. Have you ever seen a man walk away without explanation? Have you ever seen him seem cold, indifferent, as if nothing affected him? You can be sure, behind this icy shield, there is a wound, and this wound often comes from the feeling of not being understood or valued. So the question remains, how did we get to this point? How did an entire society manage to make men stray so far from their own essence? The answer lies in the inversion of values. In an attempt to deconstruct masculinity, we threw away the best of it. And here's something shocking that few people talk about. A man doesn't want to dominate a woman. He wants to inspire her. He wants to see in her eyes the admiration that no other place in the world can offer. He wants to be the hero, not for ego, but for meaning. When a man feels like he's not needed, he dies a little inside. And this silent death is everywhere. Relationships where women correct him as if he were a child. Homes where he has no voice, only obligations. Lives where he works, provides, but never hears a thank you. And if you've watched this far, tell me in the comments, have you ever seen this happen to someone close to you? Or to yourself? This is just the beginning. In the next part, we'll dive even deeper and reveal the hidden desire that men carry but rarely admit, something so powerful that, when ignored, it destroys even the most solid relationships. And yes, we'll talk about one of the biggest taboos of the Red Pill Review, a topic that will shock you. If you want to know the truth that no one has the courage to tell, leave your comment below with your opinion so far. And if you haven't done so yet, subscribe to the Female Red Pill channel, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who needs to wake up to reality. Do you remember that I promised you to reveal a hidden desire that men carry but almost never admit? So listen carefully. Behind the search for sex, for admiration, for respect, there is something even deeper, the desire for emotional peace. That's right. The modern man, surrounded by demands, unrealistic expectations, and constant criticism, is not just looking for an attractive body or an intelligent partner. What he really wants, and few have the courage to confess, is a place where he can be himself without having to fight all the time. This goes against the common narrative. Culture tells us that man is the predator, the hunter, the tireless warrior. But what if I told you that the true warrior doesn't fight all the time? He fights where he's needed, but deep down, he wants rest. He wants someone who doesn't see him as a project, but as a whole man. In the book No More, Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover, Chapter 6, pages 89 to 92, it is said that many men take on the role of nice guy precisely to avoid conflict. They try to please all the time, nullifying their own truth, just to gain a little acceptance. But this comes at a very high price. They lose connection with their own strength. And worse, they become invisible to women. Because, let's be honest, no woman admires a man who sacrifices himself to please her. What men really want is someone who accepts them as they are, but at the same time inspires them to grow as men. They don't want a mother or a judge. They want a partner. And this partner is not the one who challenges your masculinity at every moment, nor who empowers you by force. She is the one who understands the silent language of men. Men say little, but they show a lot. A man who listens to you attentively, even in silence, is saying more than 1,000 words. But what does he get in return? Demands, pressure, comparisons. Think about it. Do women today know how to listen to men beyond words? Or are they so concerned with being validated that they have forgotten how to connect with the masculine essence? Sociologist Herbert Gold, in his essay Masculinity Revisited, Chapter 4, pages 56 to 60, wrote that emotional peace is the scarcest refuge for the 21st century man. He lives at war at work, in society, with his own identity. And when he comes home, he wants to find peace. But many find more battle. That's when separations arise. That's when a man begins to close himself off, to become silent, to withdraw emotionally. And do you know what's most ironic? The woman interprets this as disinterest. But in reality, he's trying to survive emotionally. He's seeking silence where there's noise. He wants to be heard without being accused, respected without being manipulated. And you may be asking yourself now, so does this mean that men just want to be pampered and treated passively? Not at all. What he wants is respect and cooperation. Author Helen Smith, in Men on Strike, Chapter 2, pages 33-36, recounts dozens of cases of men who left relationships and even marriages, not because of a lack of love, but because they felt they were being treated like tools, useful but disposable. They didn't want submission. They wanted real partnership. They wanted someone who was there for them, not above or below them. But the world has turned upside down. Today, even talking about masculinity is a reason for attack. And here's a truth that no one wants to admit. Many men are not staying in relationships because they are afraid of commitment, but because they are afraid of being emotionally destroyed. And this has a brutal cost for society. Shallow relationships, broken families, children growing up without male role models, women frustrated because they can't find real men, men frustrated because they can't be themselves with anyone. What does a man really want? A woman who knows how to rest in his energy, not fight it. A woman who understands that masculinity is not a threat, it is structure. That the masculine is not toxic by nature, but was made to provide, protect, and lead. But for that to happen, it needs to be recognized as such, not as a deconstruction project, not as a potential oppressor. Have you ever stopped to think about how many times you have admired a man, without reservations just because of who he is? How many times have you looked at him and said, "I trust you"? How many times have you let him lead, without fighting for control? Because here's another uncomfortable truth. What a man really wants is to lead with love. But to do that, he needs to know that he will be followed with respect. If you've understood this so far, comment. Do you think men are being given this space to lead with love? Or are they being increasingly pushed into silence and giving up? Stay with me, because in the next part, we're going to talk about the most controversial topic so far. What happens when a man doesn't find what he really wants? And more importantly, how does he act when he finds a woman who truly understands his essence? It's in this next part that we'll reveal the most powerful part of this whole truth, the pinnacle of what men really want, and why it can forever transform any relationship. If you haven't subscribed to the Female Red Pill channel yet, now is the time. Like it, share this video with someone who needs to see beyond the surface, and comment below what has impacted you the most so far. If you've watched it so far, your opinion matters. Now we come to a critical point in this journey. What happens when a man doesn't find what he really wants? What happens when he doesn't find admiration, peace, respect, or true partnership? The answer is simple and devastating. He withdraws. We're not just talking about a physical separation. We're talking about something much deeper. He can continue in the relationship. He can continue living together. He can continue fulfilling his obligations. But inside, he's already gone. This phenomenon is accurately described by author Richard Cooper in The Unplugged Alpha, Chapter 7, pages 102-106. He explains how men, when they realize they will not be respected or valued as natural leaders and providers, begin to enter a silent process of emotional shutdown. They don't scream. They don't make a fuss. They simply disconnect. And here lies the danger. The woman often doesn't even notice the process. She notices that he is different, colder, less affectionate, but she interprets this as selfishness or lack of love, when in fact what is happening is that that man has already realized that there in that space he has no space. Pause for reflection. How many men do you know who seem apathetic, indifferent, or even emotionally lazy? Have they always been this way? Or were they shaped this way by an environment that punished them every time they tried to be authentic? This disconnection is a defense mechanism. Men have been trained not to cry, not to complain, not to expose vulnerabilities. So when they feel attacked or misunderstood, they withdraw. But this comes at a very high cost, for them and for the women who love them. Sociologist Lionel Tiger, in his work The Decline of Males, Chapter 9, pages 147-152, shows how modern man is in psychological and spiritual collapse. High rates of male suicide, silent depression, avoidance of relationships, emotional withdrawal. All of this is a reflection of a void of identity and purpose. Because as we said before, a man doesn't just want a partner, he wants a mission. And when he feels he can't lead, protect, or be admired, he loses that mission, he loses his bearings. Now let's turn the question around. What happens when he meets a woman who truly understands his essence? This is the most powerful part of all, because when this man finds a woman who recognizes his masculinity as a gift and not a threat, he blossoms. It's as if he breathes for the first time in years. He becomes stronger, more generous, more present. He begins to work with more purpose, lead with more clarity, protect with more dedication. And why? Because you have finally found an emotional environment where you can exercise your nature without having to apologize for it. Relationship coach Susie Johnson, in her analyses of masculinity and polarity, especially in her series The Mind of a Man, describes how a man becomes the best version of himself when he feels needed and trusted. She claims, based on more than 20 years of experience, that a man transforms when faced with a woman who says, with her eyes and actions, "I believe in you." That's the key. It's not about flattery. It's not about blind submission. It's about emotional trust. When a man feels he can trust the woman by his side, that she doesn't ridicule him, doesn't constantly vie for power, doesn't treat him as dispensable, he activates his protective, provider, leader mode, and not out of imposition, but out of pleasure. This man begins to make more assertive decisions. He begins to plan for the future. He begins to dream, because now he has a reason. Now think with me. How many women today can make this kind of emotional surrender? How many were taught to trust a man instead of fighting him? Unfortunately, the dominant discourse taught them the opposite. They said that men are oppressors. They said that masculinity is toxic. They said that they don't need anyone. But what we see in reality are women exhausted from carrying everything alone, and men who are dull, voiceless, dull, and lacking in spirit. It's all backwards. What men really want is not someone perfect. It's someone who is truly feminine. Someone who understands that his strength does not diminish hers, on the contrary. It complements her. This woman does not need to fight for space. She understands that a man of value will make space with pleasure, will lead with respect, will protect with honor. But for that, he needs to be recognized as a man. And here's the most important question yet. Do you know how to recognize a real man? Or are you stuck in a distorted view of masculinity? Would you know how to relate to a man who wants to lead with love? Or would you feel threatened by that? Comment below. This topic needs to be discussed. Men are silent, and women are confused. But when the truth is told, when critical red pill analysis enters the picture, everything changes. And change begins with awareness. If you have come this far, it is because you are seeking this awareness. And the next part will close this cycle with a final revelation, the most important of all. The truth that unites all men's desires in a single point. In the next part, we will reveal the gravitational center of male desire, the hidden origin of everything he seeks. Something that, when understood, can revolutionize not only your relationships, but your entire view of the masculine. If this resonates with you, share this video right now. Subscribe to the Female Red Pill channel, turn on notifications, and comment here. Are you ready to discover what's at the heart of a man's desire? Now it's time for the final revelation, the deepest, most shocking, and most ignored truth about what men really want. And to understand this truth, you need to forget everything you have been taught up until now by culture, by social media, by influencers who repeat the same recycled speech. Because what men really want, above all else, is not sex, not beauty, not admiration, not emotional peace. All of this is important, yes. But all of this revolves around something even bigger, more essential, more structural. Man wants a purpose. Yes, man's central desire is to live with a sense of purpose. And that purpose, when echoed by a woman who understands it, is heightened. When he finds a woman who respects that mission, who doesn't try to rewrite it or compete with it, he enters his highest mode. Author David Deida, In the Way of the Superior Man, Chapter 1, pages 9 to 13, clearly explains that man finds true satisfaction only when he aligns his life with a higher purpose. Without this, he lives in a state of distraction, compensation, and frustration. And why is this important for the relationship? Because a woman who understands this nature does not try to be the center of a man's life. She understands that the center is the purpose. She aligns herself with that. She adds, a woman who understands this doesn't get offended when he's focused on his plans. She doesn't fight for attention like a needy child. She connects with his mission, and in doing so, she becomes unforgettable. And this is the secret that almost no one tells. Men do not abandon women who help them fulfill their mission. They may even walk away from beautiful, fun, intelligent women. But they will never abandon the one who helps them be who they were created to be. Now stop and think. Do you know what the purpose of the man by your side is? Or are you so focused on how he treats you that you don't even realize what he's trying to build? Have you ever asked yourself, what do you want to achieve? What really moves you? How can I add to that? Or do you live waiting for it to fit your expectations? This difference changes everything. Because a man of value does not want to live orbiting around anyone's desires. He wants to follow a path. And whoever is by his side, growing together, sharing a vision, will receive the best from him. But if he realizes that he is with someone who does not understand his journey, who wants to turn him into an obedient boyfriend, a domesticated husband, a nice man, he will leave. If not physically, he will leave emotionally. This is why so many relationships die before they even officially end. In Chapter 10, page 172 to 175 of Rollo Tomassi's The Rational Male, we read one of the most direct analyses. The man who does not live for a purpose lives for a woman, and the man who lives for a woman loses both, her and himself. Do you realize the depth of this? The woman who understands the masculine essence says, with words or with presence, I believe in your mission, and I am with you, not to dominate you but to elevate you. And this woman receives a type of love that few know, a protective, stable, secure love full of direction. It is not a fairy tale love. It is a real love, constructed, mature, but deeply intense. And here's the closing point of everything we talked about. Man wants sex, yes. He wants respect, admiration, emotional peace. But he can only sustain this in the long term if he is living with a purpose. And the woman who understands this becomes part of his legacy, not just a temporary companion. This is the woman who will be remembered, who will be chosen, who will be protected and honored even in the face of adversity. And now I ask you honestly, do you want to be desired, or do you want to be part of a man's purpose? Do you want to compete with his focus or walk alongside him toward something that goes beyond the two of you? Because if you understand this, truly, you change your life. You leave the fight for attention and enter a territory where there is true reciprocity, where there is construction, alliance, future. This is the master key to male desire. If you've gotten this far, comment, I want a man with purpose, and I'm ready to walk with him. Let's flood the comments with this message. Let's show that there is a new awakening happening, because this is the role of the Female Red Pill channel, to awaken minds, to shatter illusions, to bring the raw, direct, uncensored truth, but full of meaning. If you felt that this message touched you in any way, subscribe now, leave a like, share this video with a friend who needs to hear this. And here is my final invitation. On the screen, 2 videos will appear that deeply connect with what you just heard. One of them reveals the biggest mistakes that drive men away in silence. The other shows how women can regain lost respect in a relationship, without manipulation, without games. Choose one of these videos. Watch it now. Because the more you understand the male universe, the more power you have to build true relationships and with depth, admiration, and purpose. See you there.